People are required to make the organization run.
Welcome to the HR Like a Boss video series. If it resonates with you, please consider liking, commenting, subscribing, or sharing with a friend. In the description, you'll find social media links to where you can listen to the complete podcast interview. I've embarked on a journey to get to know amazingly awesome HR and business professionals. These conversations create the foundation for my book on what it takes to do HR like a boss. And on today's episode, I'm delighted to be joined by Lisa Codispoti. Lisa is the Chief People Officer at the Cleveland Museum of Art, which is one of our gems in Northeast Ohio. If you haven't been, please check it out. I met Lisa while she was doing consulting, and she was an amazingly awesome presenter. And I got to know her as a result of interactions that we had with some clients and mutual partners. And at the same time, she's a grad of Walsh University and sits on the board of their business school, and also went to Case and got her master's from there. So Lisa, welcome to the show.
Thanks, John. Nice to be here.
All right, well, on to the kind of meaning of today's time together. And I guess first and foremost, I'd like to start with a high level strategy question as it relates to what you think the purpose of human resources is.
From my perspective, I'm sure I'm partial. I think it's, the most important function of an organization. Organizations don't run on their own. People are required to make the organization run. And so people produce stuff, people produce ideas, people, make the money of the organization. People do everything. It can't do it on its own. A desk, a table can't produce. People produce.
As it relates to that impact and the most important function, the ability to get people to produce, is what do you think what happened over that 30-year period of time from how you looked at HR back then to what it is today? Like, how did that transformation happen, at least in your eyes, and maybe culturally within organizations, at least some of them that you worked with?
Luckily, I worked for GE. That's where I started my career. And at that time, Jack Welch was the CEO of GE, and he had the philosophy that, it's kind of a six-eyed monster in terms of what runs the organization. And that's the CEO. And seated to the right is the CFO, and seated to the left is the head of human resources. And together, those six eyes, if you will, the six-eyed monster, when properly aligned, run the organization.
Are there in that vein, then are there particular things like challenges or key aspects of thinking differently for that HR executive that would allow them to achieve the purpose of HR, getting the people within the business to be as productive as possible and having financial wisdom enough to know that we can make money while we do it? Are there a few things that you say, that just stands out to me of like, that's going to get in the way of us having that success? And if you don't remove that barrier, then we're not going to reach that land that we think HR is capable of, or the organization is.
The business leaders, whatever their business was, had a vision of the culture or the style of the organization or what the organization could produce. And their head of human resources, while lovely, lovely people, just could not pace with them. They couldn't take that idea or that concept and turn it into something. So I know a lot of leaders are like, oh yeah, I want to be a servant leader, or oh yeah, I want to, do this, that, or the other. Oh, okay, so what? Who doesn't? But you got to be able to drag it out of them and be able to turn it into a vision.
Is there one place you'd suggest they start to be able to make that impact? Like, is there like, gosh, put a plan together, evaluate our people? Like, what are the the most impactful way they could take one step forward in trying to connect HR to the business in that way?
Well, I mean, I think, you can always start at the beginning of the story with recruiting. Nobody I know has a perfectly stacked team, both for now and in the future. So, fabulous talent continues to be a challenge for most organizations. And so I would start there. Most organizations will say, yeah, I've got a recruitment issue. Okay, well, what's the issue? And spending time with the leader to understand, because I walk down the street and see a CEO, and they're like, oh man, I got to have more talent. Oh, okay. What's the problem? What is the problem we're trying to solve? What have you tried? What's worked? What hasn't? Who are the types of people we're after? Where are they? Why are they over there and not with us? So it's really dissecting problems, asking lots of questions, knowing which questions to ask. But I usually like to start at the beginning of the story versus in the middle of the book. And so I got to get talent before I can do anything with them.
Yeah, you mentioned that, actually reference it just then and before, like your ability to dig into the issue, right? And ask a bunch of questions, and your ability to understand truly what's going on. Why do we think there's a gap here? Kind of doing a discovery or an assessment or whatever term you want to use to really understand, okay, you have a talent issue, and then I look at the reality of the organization, and maybe that's true, but why do you think it's an issue? And
right, it doesn't matter what I think, it matters what they think. Together we'll figure it out. But I think questions, to your point, need to be really practical. And that's where, having spent time as an operations leader on the commercial side of the business, it could be very, very helpful for people interested in human resources.
People become more comfortable in their ability to ask questions with more experience that they have, because they understand maybe where that person they're talking with is currently, as opposed to maybe in the past where they didn't have as much experience, hadn't worked with a CFO to see him or her struggling with some of the financial parts of it, that maybe they can lean on some of their experience. That we really need to kind of go back 15 steps here as to, I know you want to be, already have this problem fixed. We got to really dig down as to what really is happening, why your opinions are the way they are, why the performance of the people is the way that it is. So there's a tremendous amount of maturity and experience and comfort in being able to ask somewhat simple but poignant questions.
Right. You need to know. And that is one thing I did learn. It's a bit of a diversion here, but when I taught at the university level for a couple of years more recently, and I've learned that curiosity and ability to ask questions is a skill that a lot of people don't have.
Well, I'll get you out of here on this. So the title of the book is HR Like a Boss. So I'm curious, Lisa, if you could describe someone that does HR like a boss, what would that be defined as?
I think it's defined as somebody who views themselves as a leader first and an HR person second. Somebody that's not afraid to take control and lead the charge, even sometimes when they have no idea what they're doing. I was leading the charge this year, and still do, of closing an art museum and then reopening it for the safety of visitors and the public and our people. I don't know anything about this place really compared to all the people here, but it's because I'm a leader first and an HR person second. So I'm not afraid to lead the charge and bring the people together to get done whatever needs to get done. It's not about me. It's about the team and us.
Appreciate you sharing that. Well, you made a couple really cool points throughout today's discussion, and I want to recap them quickly. So again, you reiterated HR's importance as being the number one function in an organization, the impact it can have throughout the entire company, and that people produce results, innovation, revenue streams, new products, et cetera, which I thought is again, we assume that, but sometimes we don't put that into place, and the importance of having a great team. So starting with recruiting and making sure you've got the right talent in the right seats, so to speak. And I also really appreciated the digging in with questions, your curiosity, which then I think, in my opinion, may have helped some of the confidence that you had over time to just truly understand the problems that your organization or colleagues were facing, so you could dig into them and help them solve them, right? At the end of the day, let me ask a bunch of questions so I can help you figure out what's going on so we can move on to something else.
Totally.
So I really appreciate you being on the show, and I want to thank everyone for checking out today's episode. I hope that you enjoyed it. Please like, comment, subscribe, and share with a friend. And until next time, let's continue to aspire to do amazingly awesome HR.